Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to make a dish called Bagna cauda. This is an Italian dip for vegetables and bread. We'll talk a little bit about how it's served. Now the first version of Bagna cauda I was ever kind of introduced to in popular culture was in the 1990 science fiction show Babylon 5. But the version they portray there is an American variant, and I may cover that in a later version. The major differences are that the Italian version is a kind of a paste that sticks to the veggies that you eat it with, while the American version is kind of more like a fondue. With much more oil and much more, sometimes butter will be added. As always, Italian food is not quite the same thing as American Italian food. So we ought to be a little bit mindful of the differences. Here the differences include not only what goes into the dish, but also how it's eaten. And so you can't really separate the particular dish from the parent cuisine, if you will. So, onto the ingredients. So a fully Italian Piedmontese Bagna cauda has 3 ingredients. You have anchovies. Here, approximately 100 grams, but 80 grams is enough if you want. Olive oil and garlic. That's really all there is to this dish. In this particular case, though, one of the difficulties you have is if you just try to use these 3 ingredients together. Typically, the garlic will become too hard to mash properly, and so you won't get a proper dip. So we're going to use milk to poach the garlic. And once we've done that, then basically we'll drain off the milk and we won't use that. So that's the main dip. Then I will cover the accompaniments. Now, the primary accompaniments for this dip tend to be vegetables which are either sweet, like this red pepper, or bitter, like this Belgian endive, also called chickorie. I've included some fennel, which is another kind of vegetable in the sweet category. And we'll go ahead and use some of that. And then it's almost always served with a nice rustic, farm-style bread. And basically, the bread will be used to catch the drippings, and then you can eat the bread with the drippings. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our garlic and we're going to poach it in milk. So I'm going to put the garlic, I've peeled all the cloves, I'm going to put them in a small pot. And I'm going to add about a cup of milk, about 250 mils or so, maybe more, maybe less. And I'm going to turn this on to like maybe a 6 or 7 out of 9, so medium-high, until it starts to steam nicely, and then I'll turn it down to medium. And then we'll let this cook for about 10 minutes until the garlic is soft. So now it's been about 10 minutes, and this garlic is very soft. Now, I kept it covered the whole time, and as a result, the steam would steam these as well as poaching them. Now I'm going to pour off and strain the milk. I'm going to wash this quickly, and then I'll come back for the next step. So now I've washed and dried this pot, and I'm going to transfer to it my anchovies and oil. That's the first thing I'm going to add. The next thing I'm going to add, shortly after that, you don't really have to wait any amount of time, is the garlic. And finally, I'm going to add 1/2 cup, or 1/8 of a liter, of olive oil. And from here, basically, I'm going to start mashing everything together. And as this starts to cook, the anchovies are going to dissolve in the oil, and the garlic is going to help form kind of an oily sauce. And so I'll just keep doing that for a while. So I actually have this on the lowest setting on the burner possible, and you can see that it's still boiling. I prefer to try to keep it not boiling, but it's a little different because, oil itself won't boil. So what you're actually seeing is the boiling of the stuff inside. But you can see that with me stirring it, we're getting this kind of sauce forming, and that's exactly what we want. So I think this is about done. I'm going to take this off the heat and let it cool a little bit, and then I'll be back for the taste test. Or actually, we'll be back for presentation. So now I have poured the sauce into a bowl here for dipping. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some, what I'd probably then do is you could, for example, arrange vegetables out on the plate around it. This would be how you do it if you were going to do a, like a party tray. Another option is you could put this in smaller bowls for individual servings and produce, you know, just something like that. Typically, you'd eat it holding it over a piece of bread so that the drippings of the oil fall into the bread. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a piece of chickorie, and I'll go ahead and do the taste test. Again, this sort of fennel is good with it. This chicory is good with it. Sweet ones, radishes. People use a lot of different kinds of veggies here. So in terms of presenting this for the taste test, I've taken a small ladleful, put it in a bowl here for dipping. I have a leaf of chicory, a piece of red bell pepper, a piece of fennel. Now these are different sweet vegetables. This is a very bitter one. And I have a piece of bread to catch the drips. I probably don't need this whole bread, so for presentation and ease of management's sake, I'm just going to tear off a piece of it and put it down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste this with the chicory, then, actually I'll taste with the fennel, then with the chicory, then with the red bell pepper, and finally I'll eat the piece of bread. And now for the tasting. I'm going to start with this piece of fennel because fennel is a nice sweet vegetable. And as you can probably see, the anchovies and stuff stick to the fennel very nicely. That's good, but it's a little bit underwhelming. I'm not as happy with the fennel as I kind of expect it to be. Next, I'm going to try a piece of chiccorie. This is also known as Belgian endive. It's a bitter vegetable. That's really, really good. The bitterness of the endive really brings out the fishiness in the anchovies. And now I'm going to try a little piece of red pepper. The red pepper is nice also, but it's very, very different in its impact on the sauce. I think those two are my favorites so far. I'm just going to take a little piece of bread. I'm just going to dip it in and taste it. The effect on the bread is very interesting. The endive brings out a lot of the fishiness, but the bread, you taste the fishiness in a more warm way. This is really, really very nice. I hope you enjoy making it. This is definitely something I'm going to make many, many times again, and I will cover various varieties of it in future videos here. Among other varieties I would like to try, I would like to experiment with making one with roasted garlic instead of poached garlic. And I would like to try to make an American style one, which is much more olive oil and butter, and then eaten in more like a fondue kind of way. So, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy. Bon appetit.